Hello guys, welcome to our page. I hope you already liked, subscribed and shared our page. If you haven't done that, please like, subscribe and share our page. Today we are going to start the new point from the chapter number 5, heat. Today we are going to learn about the dew point and humidity. Whatever be the factors regarding these humidity and dew point that we are going to study. And if you are new to our page and if you haven't watched the previous videos of this chapter, you can watch those videos from the links which are given in the description. So here we are going to start the dew point and humidity. Now actually you all are familiar with the word humidity. The humidity means the amount of water vapor which is present in the air. The amount of water vapor, just remember the word water vapor present in the atmosphere or in the air, that is referred as a humidity. So that means water vapor. So here we have to consider again water, because in all the concepts we are studying the property of water only, like anomalous behavior of water, then regulation, then after that we had considered the Hope's apparatus in the previous video, and here again we are going to consider the humidity and dew point, in which again water is involved. But here water vapor means it is present in the form of gaseous state. It is present in the form of gaseous state. So here if we consider the whole earth surface and in surrounding of that the atmosphere is there. We know that you learned in the geography also or in other science chapters also that atmosphere is there, different layers are there. It is present up to 400 kilometer or maybe more than that. So about 71% surface, that means out of 100% surface of earth, near about 71% of surface is covered with the water, whether it is ocean, whether it is pond, whether it is river or any other small surfaces, it doesn't matter. So if we combine all the area, then 71% surface of the earth is covered by water. So it is very large surface actually. That means large amount of water is present on the earth's surface, and this much large amount of water is present on the earth's surface, then the evaporation processes continue going on. That means the constant evaporation of water is occurring. That means the water is too much in the surrounding region. That means in or on the earth's surface, too much amount of water is covered. Water is covering the earth's surface. So that means due to the constant evaporation of water, continuously some amount of water vapor is always present in the atmosphere. It doesn't matter which season is there, whether it is summer, whether it is winter or whether it is rainy season, no problem. In every season, the water vapor is always present in the atmosphere. Yes, maybe the proportion will be different. That means amount of water vapor maybe varies, but continuously that water vapor is going to be present in the atmosphere. And why it is happening? Because the constant evaporation of water, it is happening due to constant evaporation of water. It doesn't matter how that evaporation is done. It doesn't matter how that evaporation is done. So there are different sources or there are different processes by which water can be evaporated. For example, water absorbs the heat energy from the sun, due to which that is a constant evaporation. That means naturally that evaporation is occurred and continuously sunlight is coming and that evaporation is occurring. Then you can also consider another processes like steam engines are there or the pressure cooker is there. In that also you are able to see the water vapor which is coming out of that cooker. So that is also one process. When you are cooking something, at that time also water vapor is created. So there are too many sources are there by which we can obtain the evaporation of water. It doesn't matter by which method, how we are getting the evaporation. The important fact is that we are getting the evaporation continuously. So due to which water vapor is going to present in the atmosphere. So this is the concept. Then the amount of water vapor in the atmosphere helps us to understand the state of daily weather. That means how much amount of water vapor is present in the atmosphere, and from that we are able to understand the weather, daily weather of that particular region. In the previous year, in the class 7, in the class 8, you had studied about the weather and climate. So climate is a long term and weather is a short term for a particular time. So at that time, we have to consider how much water vapor is present in that atmosphere. So by that we are able to understand the weather, what will be the weather at that particular point. Suppose the amount of water vapor is too large, then we are able to see that wet atmosphere is there. And if that water vapor is very low in that particular atmosphere, then we are referring it as a dry atmosphere. So when we are going to say it as a dry atmosphere, when we are going to say it as a wet atmosphere, there are some criteria, there are some norms by which we are able to say whether it is dry or wet. So how we are going to decide the given atmosphere is going to be dry, wet? So that also we have to consider in the next slide. Okay. So just remember, from the water vapor, the atmosphere is also changed. Weather of that atmosphere can be described. The presence of water vapor in the air makes it moist. In other word, you are referring it as a moisture. The simple word for the water vapor in the atmosphere only, okay, in the air only, that is referred as a moisture. You may heard this word. There is lots of moisture is there, etc., etc. So moisture is the common word which we are using for that water vapor which is present in the air. Okay. So the moisture in the atmosphere is called as humidity. The moisture, that means whatever be the amount of water vapor is present in that atmosphere, that is referred as a humidity. In other words, we can say that we are measuring the amount of moisture in the atmosphere, and that is referred as a humidity of that particular area or of that particular region. Okay. So for a given volume of air at a specific temperature, there is a limit on how much water vapor the air can contain. Okay. So suppose you are eating something, and you can eat up to suppose 2 chapatis or like that. I will not count that. So suppose you have certain limit how much you can eat. You cannot able to eat more than that. After that you are going to say that no, I am fulfilled now, I am not able to eat something. So that means there is certain limit to everything. Suppose you are going to take one container in which you have to put some liquid, and capacity of that container is 1 liter of liquid. You can insert 1 liter of liquid, and I told you that insert 2 liter of liquid in that container. Is it possible? No, not possible, because the capacity of that container is only 1 liter. So beyond that it cannot able to hold. So what is going to happen then? Then that liquid will pour on the floor. It will come out from that container. We are going to insert that. You have to insert it. But the remaining amount of water or amount of liquid is going to spill. So that means in the same way, the air, the particular air at a particular location or at a particular region, it has a particular volume, then it has a particular temperature, and depending on volume and temperature of that air, the limit will differ. That means there is a certain limit on how much water vapor can it contain. Suppose we will say that 10 gram of water vapor can be absorbed by that particular air which is present in around my room. Suppose in my room, whatever be the air is there, so it can absorb the 10 gram of water vapor. So that will be the limit. Beyond that, I am not able to provide the heat or provide the water vapor to that particular air. So it is not going to absorb that water vapor. Okay. So as the limit is exceeded, it is not going to contain much more water vapor, but still that water vapor is coming. That means still that water vapor is coming, its limit is reached, and it is not able to contain that water vapor. So at that time, when this amount exceeds this limit, when water vapor amount exceeds this limit, then excess water vapor is converted into the water droplets. So here what is happening? Now that air is not able to acquire that water vapor, absorb that water vapor. So what it is doing? Whatever be the additional water vapor is there, excess water vapor is there, it will be converted into water droplets. So here water vapor is a gaseous form and now it is converted into liquid form, that means water droplets. And when this limit is reached, that means that particular air is not able to contain another amount of water vapor. That particular stage is referred as a saturated air. We are going to refer it as a saturated air. So when we are going to say that it is a saturated, when it is not able to contain water vapor, its limit will be reached for that particular temperature, for that particular volume, whatever be the volume, whatever be the temperature of that air. So it has reached the limit and that particular point is referred as a saturation point. So air becomes saturated, and if it is able to acquire the water vapor, that means it is not fulfilled. Suppose it is fulfilled only 60% water vapor. So at that time we are going to refer it as a unsaturated air. That air is referred as a unsaturated air. So in this way, depending on saturated and unsaturated air, the conversion depends. Then when that water vapor is going to be converted into water droplets, that totally depends on how much amount of water vapor is already present in that air, what is the temperature of that air already. So all these facts are very necessary. What is the volume of that air? So depending on all these factors, that particular exceed point is depend. When that air is going to be saturated, that will be varied from place to place, because from place to place temperature is varying, the already presence of amount of water vapor is varied. So all factors are different. So therefore, suppose if we consider the unsaturated air at a certain temperature, here the condition is given at a certain temperature. That means now we are going to consider a particular temperature of that unsaturated air. Unsaturated air means it can contain the water vapor. But what I am going to do now, when unsaturated air at a certain temperature is taken and its temperature is decreased, what I am going to do? I am going to decrease the temperature of that air. Okay. So a temperature is reached at which the air becomes saturated. That means it is not able to hold the water vapor. That stage will referred as a saturated air. So when it will becomes the saturated with water vapor, then this particular temperature, that particular low temperature is referred as dew point temperature. That means after that temperature, the water vapor is going to be converted into water droplets. That means gaseous form to liquid form, and these small water droplets are nothing but we are referring it as a dew. You all are familiar in the winter season that you are able to see the dew in the morning. You are able to see the dew on the objects which are present outside. So when that dew is we are obtaining that dew when temperature is lowering, because in the winter season temperature lowers after midnight. So due to which its limit is reached, it cannot hold the water vapor, and due to which that water vapor is converted into the water droplets, and that particular temperature, that low temperature, is referred as a dew point temperature. The vapor content in the air is measured using a physical quantity called absolute humidity. So actually the amount of water vapor present in the air is measured by humidity, and again in that two terms we are going to consider. One is absolute humidity and second one is relative humidity, and depending on this we are going to refer the air as a dry or wet. So the mass of water vapor present in a unit volume of air is called absolute humidity. Unit volume means 1 meter cube. Its value should be 1. Its value should be 1. So that is referred as a unit volume. And in that unit volume, how much amount of mass of vapor is present? What is the mass of vapor present in that unit volume? That term or that division is referred as absolute humidity, and as we are taking it as a mass of vapor per unit volume, so therefore the absolute humidity is going to be measured in kilogram per meter cube. If you have smartphone, obviously you have a smartphone because you are watching this video on YouTube, that means you had a smartphone, and you all know that in the smartphone weather app is there, and in that weather app you can able to see that humidity's unit is given. You can change the units, different units are given, you can change the units, and in that the kilogram meter cube unit is given for the humidity, absolute humidity. Then the second fact is that relative humidity. Relative means relation, to compare. Relative means to compare, that means to compare something. So when we are going to compare something, suppose I told you that compare number. Can you able to compare one number? Can you able to say something about one number only? If I have provided you only one number, suppose I provided you one number, suppose that number is 10. Okay, can you able to see something regarding this single number? No. But when I add another number, when I consider two numbers, at least two numbers, then only I am able to compare these two numbers. What I am going to say that 10 is less than 20, correct? Then I am also going to say that 20 is greater than 10, or 20 minus 10 is 10, that means 20 is greater by 10. So like this. So you are comparing when you have two numbers. So in the same way, relative humidity, that means I have to consider relation. So how many values are required? Two values are required, and from that two values we are also able to deduce the formula. We are also able to write down the formula for percentage relative humidity. So the ratio means division, actual mass of vapor content in the air for a given volume. The ratio of actual mass of vapor content in the air in a given volume or for a given volume, whatever be the volume is there. In absolute humidity, what is the volume? We require unit volume. But here whatever be the volume is there, no problem. And the temperature to that required to make the air saturated with vapor at that temperature is called relative humidity. Okay, so here the actual mass of water vapor content in the air in a given volume divided by mass of vapor needed to make the air saturated in that volume. So volume we have to keep the constant, we are not going to change the volume, but whatever be the amount of vapor I have to add externally, whatever be the mass of vapor I have to add, so that that air will become saturated, that means its limit will be reached. So that ratio is referred as a relative humidity, and when I am going to multiply it by 100, then it is referred as a percentage relative humidity. Percentage relative humidity. And if I will consider the relative humidity at the dew point is 100%, because when we are getting the dew point, after limit is exceeded, that means limit is reached, so that means it is not able to contain another amount of water vapor, so that means it is fulfilled. So 100% relative humidity is there. So if the relative humidity is more than 60%, then we feel that the air is humid. Now see, when we are going to say it as a wet, when relative humidity is going to be more than 60%, then it is going to be humid, and when it is less than 60%, then we feel that the air is going to be dry. So generally during the winter season the atmosphere is humid, and during the summer season the atmosphere is dry in our country. Okay, so this is the concept of humidity and dew point. Now here in all these concepts heat is involved. When water vapor is going to be obtained, when we are considering the anomalous behavior, in all the cases when we are considering regulation, all the concepts, whatever the concepts are there, we are considering the heat energy. Without that heat energy, these conversions are not possible. Latent heat of fusion, latent heat of vaporization, all the concepts we had studied in the previous videos. I told you that links are given in the description. You can watch those videos. You can see those videos, that in every video heat is involved, because the name of chapter is heat. So it is necessary to understand the units of heat, in which unit we are going to measure the heat. So the first common unit of energy, as heat is a form of energy, then common unit is joule. Okay, SI unit. Then CGS unit is calorie. CGS unit is calorie. And whatever be the amount of heat is necessary to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius from 14.5 degrees Celsius to 15.5 degrees Celsius is called 1 calorie of heat. And why we are taking these only temperatures, 14.5 to 15.5? Because at this temperature water is behaving ideally. I explained the anomalous behavior in the previous video. So strange behavior is there, water behaving strangely as compared to other substances. So if you are going to compare the behavior of water with other substances, so that will be very identical to other substances at this temperature only. So that's why I am going to raise the temperature from 14.5 degrees Celsius to the 15.5 degrees Celsius, and whatever be the amount of heat is required to raise that temperature of 1 gram of water, that is referred as 1 calorie of heat. And instead of 1 gram of water, if I will take 1 kilogram of water, then whatever be the amount of heat necessary to raise the temperature of 1 kilogram of water by 1 degree Celsius, then it is going to be referred as 1 kilocalorie heat. 1 kilocalorie heat. So we know that 1 kilogram is equals to 1000 gram. 1 kilogram is equals to 1000 gram. So in the same way, we are going to say that 1 kilocalorie is equals to 1000 kilocalorie. And another one conversion is there. 1 calorie is equals to 4.18 joule. So these conversions are very useful in examples, not only for the 10th standard, not only in the SSC exam. It is useful in the higher standards also, that means in 11th and 12th also in the physics section. The heat is very important, and if heat is involved in any particular concept, then you should know the convergence between these units. Okay, so this is it for today. So today we had learnt about the dew point and humidity, and also we had considered the unit of heat, and also we had considered some convergence for that heat, kilocalorie to calorie, calorie to joule. So you have to use these relations. So remember all these relations. So in the next lecture we are going to start the new concept, which is going to be exchange of heat, and regarding that whatever be the facts are there, we are going to study, and that will be the last lecture of this chapter. So after that we are going to finish this chapter. So stay tuned with us to watch that video. So thanks for watching the video. If you are new to our page, I again request you to like, subscribe and share our page, and also press the bell icon. So whenever I am going to post the video regarding your syllabus, you will get the updates in the future. So again, thanks for watching the video. Have a nice day.